There is always something about games that invite and pull us into playing more. That sense of one more raid after experiencing the adrenaline rushing through our bodies, but not wanting to end on a loss.
Or audio that captures us, leading us to feel as if we are a small part of the game's world in that very moment. Maybe it's the moment where the story is reaching the end, where you confront the final boss, leading to the high-intensity and cinematic boss fight.
付き合ってやるぜ。そのくだらねえ戦いに。
Everyone has a different opinion. Especially with today's market, there are plenty of games that have found their audience and in turn their own path to success. Take Megabomb for example, because it was just a simple, wacky, and fun game with a gameplay loop that many found addicting. Now look at Arc Raiders. With its immersion thanks to the outstanding sound engineering and the loot system being so abundant, it allowed players to be well funded in resources to recraft any gear that they may have lost. Pair that with the fast queue times and players can spend less time waiting and more time playing the game. Escape from Duckov being more of a casual and approachable spin on Escape from Tarkov, yet despite the casual and silly appearance of the game, it has a surprising level of depth and content, as well as challenge for those who seek it out. Yet there is one title, while not being a new game, has been getting plenty of spotlight as of late and will be the main focus of this video. RuneScape, a game that many of you have no doubt heard of, but in case you have not, allow me to give you a small history lesson. The game dates all the way back to January 4th of 2001, garnering most of its popularity and success in 2004 with the release of RuneScape 2. Moving forward to today, being known as Old School RuneScape, thanks to a poll back in 2013 after a vote count of 449,351, very clearly saying that many of the players wanted to see the beloved old school version of RuneScape brought back. Fast forward once more to the present, with the game holding more than half of that voting count as active players at one point, with over 250,000 people playing the game at once. Not to mention the new saving skill that was added recently, the very first new skill to come to Old School since its revival back in 2013. Then there is the less popular Big Brother and more modern version known to many as RuneScape 3, which is looking to change the game for the better with the removal of harmful MTX. A bold and defiant decision in today's market where games make up most of their profits from microtransactions, skins, and battle passes, but in this video I'm going to be focusing more on Old School. Yet RuneScape as a whole, and I do want to emphasize this, has stood the test of time and doing so for well over 20 years, and still managing to break records today with its influence having no shortage of reach. Leaving many to wonder how a game that looks like this can have the reach that it has, with many stating that the game has extremely dated visuals, which is not an unfair observation, at least when you compare it to the visually stunning releases that we see in today's market. You then have to wonder how a game, despite the complaints of it having an outdated appearance, is able to draw in thousands of people to play it, and holding a constant player count of over 100,000. Most will claim that it is due to nostalgia, or the countless number of content creators surrounding the game and pushing its publicity even further. Both fair and valid points, but I could tell you what it really is. When it comes to the creation and designing of multiplayer games, especially MMORPGs, there are 4 pillars that solidify the foundation of the game. You can't build a great building on a weak foundation. You must have a solid foundation if you are going to have a strong superstructure. As stated in a quote by Gordon B. Hinckley, an American religious leader and author. Do you wish to rise? Begin by descending. You plan a tower that will pierce the clouds. Lay first the foundation of humility. A quote from Augustine of Hippo, a Christian theologian and philosopher. RuneScape does not try to make you feel as if you need to spend your money on microtransactions. It does not try to amaze you with the most beautiful visuals. It is a simple game with dozens if not hundreds of hours worth of content, allowing it to stand tall with the 4 pillars that lift the game up and support it. The 4 pillars that make RuneScape what it is today are as follows. Community.
Welcome to Gielinor Games Season 5.
Progression.
Will give you the best chance at beating the Inferno, but realistically speaking, you can attempt.
Content.
There
What's up? I'm Max, and welcome back to the 4 Idiots series, the series where I try to teach you how to do bosses in RuneScape.
And last, but most importantly, player choice.
These players have two very different play styles, different routes, different methods, different paces, but they both ended up with the same reward of being able to hold and use a rune pickaxe.
Let us first begin with community. Arguably the most important component in any MMORPG, because the bigger and healthier the community is in your game, the better it looks to those watching and are considering trying the game out.
Go fight my man. You did well, but I did better. Let's go, Reddleman!
But also looks good to the investors who financially support the development of the game. After all, there is a company behind the game, and it is a business at the end of the day. In addition to that, you also have the community of content creators who make the content that often shows how alive the game is, and how fun the game can be for those watching, allowing the game to thrive even more with the growing curiosity and interest in the game. To share a perfect example of this, look at the Source Filmmaker videos of Team Fortress 2, a game that to this day is still held in high regard not just by the industry for being such a good arena shooter, but also the many players whose hearts were touched by it. Hence why the game still manages to have 100,000 people playing it just as a few days ago. Look at the content creation side. Take for example the video Team Fabulous 2 uploaded back in February of 2012, holding a view account of over 30 million and created by the forever memorialized Kitty0706, or Pooch's Engage Extreme, with a view count of 18 million and uploaded by Sino in February of 2022. Getting back on track with RuneScape, look at creators like Ingus, who went on a nearly 8,000 hour journey conquering each of the different bosses in old school RuneScape. Framed or Settled, who both take on various self-made or community-made challenges that they thought would make a fun and unique experience. Community is two sides of a coin. How well the community receives the new players who take an interest in the game, and the content creators producing content showcasing how alive the game is. No one wants to play a game that has a negative reception of new players trying the game out, and when you have content creators that involve members of the community, like with Gildenor Games hosted by SoupRS, the game will have this alive and well appearance to it. There is a reason that many people will watch a video or a streamer playing the game, not only to see if the game is something that they would enjoy, but also to see if the people they are watching enjoy the game themselves. Because why would someone want to play a game that is either dead or not fun?
In RuneScape, time feels like it slows down and you can just enjoy yourself. You can sweat, you can not sweat, you can kind of play however you want. World of Warcraft, the moment you log in, the time is running out.
It takes a lot of hours to grind out a full set of gear. 200, 300 hours that you spent grinding that ancestral gear. Imagine one day you just log into the game and you're like, that gear's useless. Old school RuneScape has mastered horizontal progression.
Following up on what both Shobek and Sardako said, I want to share with you a saying that gets said often. RuneScape is a marathon, not a sprint. A phrase that gets tossed around for one simple reason. RuneScape does not suffer from the obsolescence of gear, whereas with the release of a new wipe in an extraction shooter or an expansion in another MMORPG, with new encounters that effectively require you to start over, meanwhile RuneScape's progression is not nearly as dynamic. Everything you do has meaning. You could take a break from the game and go check out other games that release and still be right where you left off. Your stats, wealth, and gear that you have accrued will not have become worthless in the time that you have been gone. That is because of the amount of time it takes to not only obtain the gear that you want, but also the time it takes to gain the stats required to wield and equip that gear. For example, the famous Bandos armor, requiring 65 defense to wear and around 40 to 50 mil to purchase depending on the market value at the time. Regardless of the time and money that you invest into obtaining Bandos armor, it is considered a major progression point and upgrade for any account, with it being the second best armor for general PvM. At least until the player is able to afford Torva, the armor that everyone strives to obtain, with it being the best melee armor in the game. That is what's beautiful about RuneScape's progression. Each step you take feels meaningful, because with each step you see growth, with growth comes confidence, and with confidence comes the ability to face new challenges. One thing to consider, however, is it does not matter how fast or how slow you are, because in the end, we all end up doing the same content one way or another. Now let's talk about the bread and butter of MMORPGs, the very thing that when supplied in abundance allows the game to continue holding the interest of the players, either through a new quest, a new activity, or a new boss to slay. RuneScape does not lack in this area, with a list containing 178 different quests, starting from the humblest beginnings to a long story chained across many different quests that will not only test you, but upon completion will give you game-changing unlocks. Bosses that you will spend your time learning and defeating for their drops, bosses like Vorkath and Zulrah, the two most prominent money printers in the entire game, raids like Tombs of Amascut, Theater of Blood, and Chambers of Xeric, testing everything that you've learned along the way, requiring even more time investment and patience to learn the many different encounters you will be facing. Now, while doing raids and killing monsters is definitely one of the more popular activities, you can decide to forego all of that and instead focus your time at fishing at the docks, or swinging an axe at a tree. Maybe instead of doing bosses and raids, you would want to just spend your time in a dungeon slaying monsters simply because some guy told you to do so. That is what's great about player choice. The important thing to keep in mind is that your journey through the game is driven by you. The stories you experience, the areas of the game you explore, the activities you take part in are all choices that you get to make. The game is not going to force you to do any of the quests or bosses like in other MMORPGs where it is a scripted event. You have full control. You can decide to follow the strategy guide and do the famous waterfall quest, level up to 40 attack, all without ever needing to kill a single monster. Or, you can take the alternative route and smack monsters with the fancy bronze sword you found laying on the ground, all the way up until you can wield a rune scimitar. Both choices lead to the same result: account progression. These 4 pillars that I have covered are what make RuneScape such a good game. All the different systems, like the tick system, the player's interaction with said system through things like tick manipulation, and the interaction between each other are what help it stand out in today's market as one of the better MMORPGs, if not the best. Naturally, the game is not perfect, no game is, but that would be a topic for another video. My name is Moltron, happy holidays and take care.